Welcome to our channel. This is the ultimate hub for thrill seekers, where adrenaline meets adventure and limits are meant to be shattered. If you're all about pushing boundaries, chasing the rush, and living life on the edge, you're in the right place. Get ready for heart-pounding action, epic challenges, and the unfiltered world of extreme sports. Let's dive in and ride the thrill together. The Shadow of the Matterhorn, a story of tragedy and triumph. The silent siren of the Alps. There are two kinds of climbers: those who climb because their heart sings when they're in the mountains, and those who climb because their ego screams louder than the fear of falling. This anonymous quote may as well have been written about the Matterhorn, a mountain so captivating it's been calling climbers to their glory or doom for over 150 years. Rising 4,478 meters above the Swiss-Italian border, the Matterhorn isn't just a mountain, it's an icon. Its near-perfect pyramid shape is instantly recognizable, gracing everything from postcards to chocolate bars. But while it looks pristine, even inviting, the Matterhorn has earned a darker reputation. Nearly 600 climbers have lost their lives on its ridges and faces, making it one of the most lethal peaks in the world. That's more fatalities than Mount McKinley and Mount Rainier combined. And yet, the climbers keep coming. Some are drawn by the allure of standing atop one of the most famous peaks in history. Others seek the challenge, the ultimate test of courage and endurance. For many, the Matterhorn is more than just a mountain. It's a symbol of human ambition, a chance to overcome something larger than life. But the mountain doesn't care about human ambition. It simply exists, beautiful, indifferent, and deadly. In August 2024, the Matterhorn once again reminded the world of its perilous nature. In a single week, 3 climbers lost their lives. 2 fell over 1,000 meters during a tethered descent gone wrong. Days later, a solo climber plunged 800 meters while navigating the same ridge. Imagine if 3 people fell to their deaths on the same stretch of highway in a week. Authorities would shut it down, investigate every inch, and demand answers. But the Matterhorn isn't a highway, and no one can regulate human ambition or nature's will. So why do climbers continue to answer the call of this silent siren? What drives them to risk everything for a fleeting moment on its summit? And when the mountain speaks so clearly, why do we refuse to listen? The allure of the perfect peak. The Matterhorn isn't like other mountains. It doesn't blend into a sprawling range or hide behind taller neighbors. It stands alone, its sharp edges slicing through the sky like a stone blade. Even those who have never set foot in the Alps recognize its silhouette. It's the kind of mountain that dares you to look away. And when you do, it lingers in your mind. For centuries, the Matterhorn was seen as an impossible climb. Locals believed it was cursed, a place where demons resided. And yet, in 1865, Edward Whymper and his team became the first to conquer it. Their triumph was overshadowed by tragedy when 4 of the climbers fell to their deaths during the descent. The rope tying them together snapped, sending them plummeting down the north face. Whymper survived, but the event haunted him for the rest of his life. He famously wrote, "The Matterhorn had claimed its first victims. They were not the last." Today, the Matterhorn is both revered and feared. It's accessible enough to tempt climbers of varying skill levels, but challenging enough to remind them that nature is always in control. The Hernley Ridge, the most popular route, is often marketed as beginner-friendly. But calling it beginner-friendly is like calling a lion tame because it's sitting still. It only takes one wrong move for the mountain to show its true colors. Statistically, the Matterhorn sees between 8 and 12 fatalities every year. That's about 1 climber per month. Most of these deaths occur on the descent, when climbers are fatigued, the weather shifts, or a loose rock gives way. It's a grim reminder that reaching the summit is only half the battle. But despite these risks, thousands of climbers attempt the Matterhorn every year. Why? For some, it's about achieving something extraordinary. To stand on the summit of the Matterhorn is to stand on the shoulders of history, to join the ranks of those who've conquered one of the most iconic peaks in the world. For others, it's deeply personal, a chance to escape the mundane, to feel alive, to prove something to themselves. But no matter the motivation, the mountain remains the same, indifferent, unyielding, and unforgiving. A week of tragedy. August 2024 was a busy month for the Matterhorn. The summer weather had drawn climbers from around the world to the Hernley Hut, a refuge perched at 3,260 meters. Among them were two friends, seasoned alpinists who had spent months preparing for this climb. They roped themselves together, a safety measure meant to ensure that if one slipped, the other could anchor them. It was a plan as old as mountaineering itself. They set off before dawn, their headlamps cutting through the pre-dawn darkness as they began their ascent of the Hernley Ridge. Hours later, something went catastrophically wrong. By nightfall, they hadn't returned. Search teams were dispatched, and the next morning, their bodies were found 1,000 meters below the ridge. The rope that had been their lifeline had instead tethered them to tragedy. When one fell, the other was dragged down with them. 2 days later, tragedy struck again. A solo climber descending the same ridge lost his footing and fell 800 meters to the glacier below. Witnesses at the base described the scene as haunting, silent, swift, and unstoppable. It was a moment that left even seasoned climbers questioning why they'd ever set foot on the mountain. What caused these accidents? Experts point to several possibilities: shifting weather patterns, loose rock, and the inherent risks of high-altitude climbing. But one factor remains constant: the mountain itself. The Matterhorn doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how experienced you are, how well you've planned, or how much you want to succeed. It only takes one mistake, one lapse in judgment, for the mountain to remind you who's really in control. The history of danger. The Matterhorn's reputation as a deadly peak is as old as its climbing history. Edward Whymper's first ascent in 1865 ended in disaster, with 4 of his teammates falling to their deaths. Since then, the mountain has claimed hundreds of lives. Its steep ridges, unpredictable weather, and loose rock make it a challenge even for the most experienced climbers. In the early 20th century, advances in climbing equipment and techniques made the Matterhorn more accessible. But these advances also brought a new kind of danger: overconfidence. Climbers began underestimating the mountain, mistaking improved gear for guaranteed safety. It was a fatal assumption. Even today, the Matterhorn's dangers remain ever present. The weather can change in an instant, transforming a clear day into a blinding snowstorm. Rocks, loosened by the freeze-thaw cycle, can fall without warning, and the narrow ridges leave little room for error. It's a mountain that demands respect, and those who fail to give it often pay the ultimate price. The psychology of risk. What drives people to climb a mountain that has claimed so many lives? Psychologists have long studied the mindset of extreme athletes, and the findings are as fascinating as they are unsettling. Climbers often share traits with gamblers and thrill seekers. They're drawn to risk, not in spite of the danger, but because of it. The adrenaline rush, the sense of accomplishment, and the allure of the unknown are powerful motivators. For many, climbing isn't just a hobby, it's an identity, a way to connect with something greater than themselves. But there's a darker side to this pursuit. The line between ambition and recklessness is often razor thin, and the Matterhorn has a way of exposing it. Climbers who overestimate their abilities or underestimate the mountain's dangers often pay the ultimate price. For some, The risk is part of the reward. The greater the challenge, the greater the triumph. But for others, the drive to climb is deeply personal. A way to escape the mundane, to find clarity, to confront their fears. And while these motivations may vary, they all share one thing in common. The mountain doesn't care. It doesn't care why you're climbing or what you hope to achieve. It only cares that you respect its power. Lessons from tragedy. In the aftermath of the August 2024 tragedies, the climbing community didn't just mourn, it reflected. When 3 climbers lose their lives on the same mountain in the same week, it raises uncomfortable questions. What could have been done differently? Were these deaths preventable? And more broadly, what lessons can we learn from these tragedies to prevent future ones? The first lesson is an old one: humility. The Matterhorn is not just a mountain, it's a force of nature, unpredictable and unforgiving. Yet, year after year, climbers underestimate it. They read guidebooks describing the Hernley Ridge as beginner-friendly and assume it's a safe, straightforward climb. But mountains don't read guidebooks, and the Matterhorn doesn't care what you think of its routes. Take the Hernley Ridge, for example. It's often compared to a ladder for its direct ascent and clear path, but that's only part of the story. The ridge is also narrow and exposed, with crumbling rock and sudden drops. Climbers face sheer cliffs on either side, where one misstep can send you tumbling thousands of meters. It's not a hiking trail, it's a balancing act, with stakes as high as the mountain itself. The second lesson is about preparation. Modern climbing equipment has come a long way since Edward Whymper's day. Lightweight ropes, crampons, and weatherproof clothing have made mountaineering safer than ever. But no amount of gear can replace experience, training, and good judgment. One of the tragedies in August 2024 involved 2 climbers roped together for safety. This technique, while standard in mountaineering, requires coordination and skill. If one climber slips, the other must act as an anchor to prevent a fall. But on the Matterhorn, where footing is precarious and anchors are few, even the most skilled climbers are at risk of being pulled down. Their deaths weren't just a failure of technique. They were a stark reminder of the limits of safety measures in extreme environments. Weather is another critical factor. The Matterhorn is notorious for its sudden shifts in conditions. What starts as a clear morning can turn into a blizzard by midday. Climbers who fail to check weather reports or ignore warnings often find themselves at the mercy of the mountain. The solo climber who fell in 2024 had started his descent in good weather, but strong winds were reported shortly after. Did he push his limits, thinking he could outrun the storm, or was he caught off guard by the mountain's unpredictability? And then there's the psychological element. Why do climbers push themselves to the point of exhaustion? Why do they ignore their own limits? Mountaineering isn't just a physical challenge, it's a mental one. Fatigue clouds judgment, and the higher you go, the harder it becomes to make rational decisions. This phenomenon, often called summit fever, can be deadly. It's the irrational drive to reach the top at any cost, even when turning back is the safer option. But perhaps the most profound lesson is about respect. The Matterhorn is not a playground or a personal achievement to be ticked off a bucket list. It's a living, breathing entity, shaped by time and weather, indifferent to human ambition. Climbers who approach it with arrogance, overconfidence, or complacency often find themselves in trouble. Those who survive are often those who understand the mountain's power and their own limitations. In light of these tragedies, some have called for stricter regulations. Should climbers be required to have a guide? Should permits be issued only to those with proven experience? While these measures could reduce accidents, They raise questions about the nature of mountaineering itself. Part of the appeal of climbing is its freedom, the ability to test oneself against nature on one's own terms. Regulating access could save lives, but at what cost to the spirit of adventure? Ultimately, the lessons from the Matterhorn are not about avoiding risk, but managing it. The mountain will always be dangerous, and climbing it will always involve risk. But those risks can be mitigated with preparation, respect, and an understanding of the mountain's challenges. The mountain's verdict. The Matterhorn doesn't care about triumph or tragedy. It doesn't care how much you've trained, how much you've spent, or how badly you want to reach the summit. It simply exists, an indifferent monument to the forces that shaped it over millions of years. And yet, for those who climb it, the Matterhorn is so much more than a mountain. To some, it's a symbol of human ambition. Climbing it is a way of saying, "I did this. I conquered this." It's a way of proving something to oneself or to the world. But to others, the Matterhorn is something deeper. A mirror that reflects their fears, dreams, and limits. Standing at the base of the Matterhorn, it's impossible not to feel small. Its ridges and faces tower above, a testament to the raw power of nature. For many climbers, this is exactly the appeal. In a world dominated by human achievements, skyscrapers, highways, and airplanes, the mountain is one of the few places where nature still reigns supreme. But what does the Matterhorn give back? The truth is, it doesn't give anything. The mountain doesn't reward climbers for their courage or effort. It doesn't celebrate their triumphs or mourn their losses. It simply stands, unchanging and eternal, while humanity struggles to find meaning in its shadow. For those who make it to the summit, the moment is often bittersweet. There's exhilaration, of course, a sense of accomplishment that's hard to replicate. But there's also a realization. The summit is only a temporary victory. The real challenge is getting down safely, and the mountain isn't done testing you yet. And for those who fail, the Matterhorn offers no forgiveness. It doesn't care if you slipped because you were tired or distracted. It doesn't care if you underestimated the weather or overestimated your skill. Failure on the Matterhorn is often final, a harsh reminder that nature doesn't play by human rules. So why do we keep climbing? Why do we return to a mountain that has claimed so many lives? The answer lies in the human spirit. We are drawn to challenges, to places that test our limits and remind us of our fragility. The Matterhorn is more than a mountain. It's a metaphor for life itself. Climbing the Matterhorn is a journey, not just up the mountain, but into oneself. It forces climbers to confront their fears, their ambitions, and their mortality. And while the risks are high, the rewards, however fleeting, are often worth it. For those who climb the Matterhorn, the experience leaves a mark. It changes them, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Whether they succeed or fail, they leave the mountain different from how they arrived. In the end, the Matterhorn doesn't offer answers. It doesn't tell us why we climb or what we hope to achieve. It simply challenges us to find those answers for ourselves. And perhaps that's why we keep coming back. Because in the shadow of the Matterhorn, we see what it means to truly live, to risk, to strive, and to confront the unknown. The mountain doesn't judge. It only reflects. And what we see in that reflection is entirely up to us. Final reflection. The Matterhorn is a paradox. It's a place of beauty and danger, triumph and tragedy, life and death. For some, it's a dream worth pursuing. For others, it's a warning of the limits of human ambition. But for everyone who encounters it, the Matterhorn is unforgettable. And perhaps that's its greatest power. It doesn't just test climbers' strength or skill, it tests their spirit. And in doing so, it leaves a legacy that's as eternal as the mountain itself. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride, thrill seekers. If you felt the adrenaline, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss an epic moment. Join our crew and let's keep chasing the thrill together. Until next time, stay bold, stay fearless, and keep pushing those limits.